Justice is not always born in the courtroom. Sometimes it rises from the ashes, blood-soaked, fire-forged, and merciless in its vengeance. He was once an ordinary man, but betrayal carved him into something darker, something monstrous. Now he walks again, driven not by hope, not by love, but by revenge alone. This is his story. A man who could never be broken, a soul consumed by vengeance. But what you think you know is only the beginning, because the real nightmare has yet to begin. The story begins with a criminal named Kane. One day, the police take him to a hospital so that he can see his mother one last time. His mother is on her deathbed. But unfortunately, before Kane can reach her, she passes away. Hearing this, Kane completely breaks down. After getting permission from the police, he goes to the morgue to see his mother's dead body. Seeing her like that, tears fill his eyes. Just then, the police come to take him back. But Kane no longer wants to return to prison. As soon as he enters the elevator, he suddenly attacks the police officers and brutally beats all of them. Then he escapes through the back door of the hospital. A few days later, after pulling himself together, he enters a bar. At first, seeing his condition, the bouncers try to stop him from going inside, but in anger, he violently beats both of them. Then he goes inside and reaches the bartender named Beige. He introduces himself as a gang member and orders a large glass of beer. While drinking, he overhears some gang members sitting behind him talking. From their conversation, Kane learns that the gang is very scared. A few days earlier, their accountant suddenly disappeared, and one of their gang members, Rook, was killed in front of another member named Tune. Everyone present starts asking Tune what exactly happened that night. Tune begins to explain that night they were doing their usual drug and money collection business. When they reached an empty place, they started counting the cash. At that moment, a man appeared at a distance and stared at them quietly. Seeing this, Rook walked toward him while Tune continued dealing with another customer. Even after questioning him for a long time, the strange man did not respond. So Rook tried to attack him, but that mysterious man brutally killed Rook. Seeing this, Tune got terrified and ran away. Hearing this story, Kane suddenly starts laughing. His laughter enrages the other gang members. When they ask him why he is laughing, Kane tells them that Tune is lying to hide his own mistake. At first, no one understands what he means. Then he reveals the truth. He himself was the one who killed Rook that night, and it was Tune who ran away in fear. Hearing this, everyone becomes even angrier. But instead of saying anything to Tune, they all turn against Kane. Still, no one knows why Kane killed Rook. Now the entire gang is ready to kill Kane. But Kane is not afraid at all. Instead, he starts mocking them. Seeing this, Beige gets scared and screams at everyone to leave the bar. At that moment, the two bouncers from outside enter with a shotgun. These are the same two men Kane had beaten earlier to get inside. They now try to attack him again, but Kane brutally beats both of them once more. Then he snatches their gun and takes the entire gang hostage. Kane tells them that he will only spare their lives if they call their boss Lincoln there. Lincoln is actually Kane's elder brother. A little later, Lincoln's most trusted man, Hyde, arrives at the scene. Seeing what has happened, he is shocked. But when he sees Kane, he starts mocking him about his facial injuries and his fake teeth. From Hyde's words, the rest of the gang realizes that Kane is actually Lincoln's brother, the one who had gone to prison for some reason and was rumored to be unable to kill anyone. Hearing this, one of the bouncers tries to attack Kane again, but instantly, Kane shoots him in the leg. Seeing this, Hyde and everyone else realizes that the situation is no longer the same. Kane has become so dangerous now that he would not hesitate for even 1 second to kill anyone who disobeys him. Hyde still cannot fully believe that Kane really killed Rook. Then Kane places Rook's severed hand in front of everyone. Seeing this, everyone becomes even more terrified. After that, Kane throws all their phones into the water and orders everyone to sit quietly. Then he tells Beige to serve drinks to everyone. At first, Beige shows some attitude, but Kane warns him to stay quiet. Then Kane happily slaps Hyde on the face and orders him to call Lincoln and bring him to the bar. Forced by fear, Hyde calls Lincoln and, using an excuse, asks him to come there. After that, Kane takes Hyde's phone and makes him sit with the others. Now, seeing Kane's condition, everyone becomes curious about how he became like this. So Kane starts telling them everything, and the story goes into the past. At that time, Kane was an extremely skilled fighter. One day, he went to meet Lincoln to talk about something, but Lincoln's men were already angry at Kane. The reason was that they had placed bets on Kane's fight, where they would profit if Kane lost. Kane knew this too, but even so, he won the fight. Because of this, Lincoln, Rook, and many others lost a lot of money. However, Lincoln himself had no issue with it because everyone makes their own choices. That day, Kane had gone to Lincoln to ask for help. He told him that he needed some money because he wanted to buy a gym from a man named Selly. After buying it, he intended to teach boxing there, but Lincoln refused to give him the money. Even though Lincoln was a powerful mafia boss, he had one strict rule: he never lent money to family members, because if they failed to return it, Lincoln would suffer losses, and since they were family, he would not be able to take action against them. Hearing this, Kane got angry and started to leave. Just then, Lincoln stopped him and said that if Kane completed one job for his gang, only then would he get the money. At first, Kane refused to do any illegal work, but Lincoln said the job was very simple. He told Kane that he would get the full details from Hyde. When Kane went to Hyde, he learned that a woman would leave an office with a parcel after a short while. Kane only needed to follow her, and once she reached near her home, he had to snatch the parcel and deliver it to Hyde's office. The job seemed very easy. Kane asked what was inside the parcel, but Hyde refused to tell him anything and only told him to complete the task. But while Kane was returning with the parcel, the woman suddenly ran after him. During the chase, the woman was hit by a car and died on the spot. Seeing this, Kane was completely frozen in shock. At that exact moment, 2 police officers arrived and arrested him. As a result, Kane was charged with murder. If Kane had not snatched the parcel, then that woman would not have chased after him and she would not have lost her life while running. But at the police station, Officer Sam realizes that Lincoln was actually behind everything and had used Kane to do this job. Sam gives Kane another chance to save himself. In return, Kane only has to testify against Lincoln and say that Lincoln ordered him to do it. But Kane flatly refuses to do that. Then Sam reveals a terrifying truth about Lincoln. Lincoln had purposely given that woman the job of carrying the parcel so that later he could blackmail her and extort even more money. In fact, that woman had taken money from Lincoln, and until she repaid the full amount, she was forced to deliver drugs for him. And on the day she was carrying Lincoln's parcel, Lincoln knowingly sent Kane to steal it, so that later he could blame the woman, saying that the parcel was lost because of her mistake and now she would have to pay compensation. In this way, Lincoln would squeeze even more money out of her. Using this method, he had destroyed countless families across the country. Hearing all this, Kane feels completely dizzy. He cannot believe it at all. That is why he refuses to accept Sam's words. Then another officer, named George, takes Kane into a different room and starts brutally beating him. Since Kane's hands are tied, he cannot fight back at all. After this, he is directly sentenced to 5 years in prison. For unknown reasons, he is sent to a highly dangerous prison where the most violent criminals are kept. On his very first day there, Kane gets into a brutal fight with a terrifying inmate. At first, Kane fights well, but later, several prisoners overpower him, beat him savagely, and mercilessly break all the teeth at the front of his mouth. Because of Kane's behavior, the dentist angrily fits him with metal teeth instead. Kane endures even this. Days pass like this. After some time, Kane's mother comes to visit him. Seeing his condition, she becomes heartbroken, but she does not have enough money to hire a lawyer for Kane, so Kane tells her to seek help from Lincoln. He still hopes that Lincoln would help him get out of prison, but just like Kane's mother, Lincoln does nothing to help. In fact, on that very day, he tells Kane's mother that he will come to the prison once to meet Kane. This time, Kane finally agrees. From that moment, he begins waiting for Lincoln and starts working out inside the prison so that he can prepare himself for the fights that are coming. After that, whenever Kane steps out of his cell, people attack him from different corners and try to kill him, but inside, Kane burns a terrifying will to survive. So, in every fight, he brutally beats his opponents, even though Kane himself gets badly injured each time. Once, someone even throws acid on his face and burns him. Many times, people try to strike him with iron rods, but every time, Kane survives and starts training even harder so that he can become even stronger for the next fight. In a burst of rage one day, he kills several prisoners. He even begins to violently attack the guards as well. Because of this, even the police find it extremely difficult to control him. Due to this behavior, his sentence is extended further, and he is placed in solitary confinement. There, Kane does nothing except work out. After being released, Kane gets into another brutal fight with a former inmate. After beating him mercilessly, Kane finally asks the question that had been burning inside him for so long. Why does everyone want to kill me? What is the real reason behind all this? When he learns the truth, Kane's head starts spinning. The truth is that every single attack on him inside the prison was secretly arranged by Lincoln himself. Lincoln lived in constant fear that one day Kane might expose all his crimes to the police, and that fear turned into hatred. When Kane later goes to visit his mother again in prison, he wants to tell her everything about Lincoln. But before he can speak, his mother reveals a heartbreaking truth: she has cancer. Her chemotherapy will begin soon, and all the medical expenses are being paid willingly by Lincoln himself. Because of the pain, she will not be able to visit Kane for some time. Hearing this, Kane is devastated, but since Lincoln is paying for his mother's treatment, Kane chooses not to reveal the truth. He stays silent and returns to prison. After 7 long years, Kane finally escapes from prison. Now a free man, Kane goes straight to Hyde, demanding to know why his own brother did all this to him, but Hyde claims he knows nothing. Kane knows very well, however, that Hyde is the person Lincoln trusts the most, so Kane pins Hyde down at gunpoint and threatens to shoot him. At that very moment, Lincoln arrives at the scene with several of his men. Seeing Kane alive, Lincoln is completely shocked, but Kane, on the other hand, is almost pleased to see him. Kane immediately orders Lincoln and his men to place all their weapons and phones aside. Even though they don't want to, they are forced to obey. Still, Kane suspects Lincoln might be hiding another weapon, so he orders Lincoln to pull down his pants and lift his shirt. Lincoln has no choice but to comply. At first, Lincoln repeatedly tries to win back Kane's trust with sweet words, but this time, Kane does not fall into his trap anymore. Finally, Lincoln confesses the truth. He had indeed tried to have Kane killed because George was actually his man, and George had told Lincoln that Kane was slowly leaking all his secrets to the police. Hearing this, Kane is stunned. He tells Lincoln the real truth, that he never once said anything about him to the police. Lincoln asks for a phone to call George, but Kane coldly replies that George is no longer in any condition to answer anyone's call. Then Kane reveals the real truth. Just a week earlier, Kane had gone to meet George, who was now working elsewhere after being fired when his connection with Lincoln was exposed. Seeing Kane alive, George was shocked, but soon he prepared himself to kill Kane, knowing Kane had come for revenge. During their violent fight, George confesses that he had deliberately lied to Lincoln. He admits that he hated Kane's attitude and wanted him to die inside prison. Their fight continues for a long time, and at one point, George almost kills Kane, but at the last second, Kane uses the weapon in his hand to kill George. After that, Kane also kills Rook. Then he takes care of Lincoln's accountant as well. Hearing all this, Lincoln explodes with rage. Meanwhile, Hyde, still sitting on the ground, keeps muttering in panic. Blinded by rage, Kane shoots Hyde in the head with the shotgun, blowing it apart instantly. Seeing this, Lincoln becomes even more furious, but now he is completely helpless. All he wants to know is what Kane wants from him now. But according to Kane, everything he wanted to do had already been done through the accountant, Strock. While Kane was in prison, he constantly kept remembering the names of 150 families' names he had memorized and even written on the wall of his cell. He had decided that even if many of them were no longer alive, he would send all of Lincoln's money to the bank accounts of those 150 families so that their future could be saved. So when Kane went to Strock's house, Strock was terrified upon seeing him. Strock tried to threaten Kane by pulling out a gun, but before he could act, Kane twisted the gun, aimed it at him, and gave him a deal. If Strock transferred all of Lincoln's money into the accounts of those 150 families, Kane would spare the lives of Strock's wife and children. To save his family, Strock agreed. Kane left only $1,500 in Lincoln's account. When Kane shows this screenshot to Lincoln, Lincoln becomes completely furious. Enraged, Lincoln attacks Kane along with his remaining men, but after years of non-stop fights inside prison, Kane has become a terrifying close combat combat fighter. He brutally beats Lincoln's men. Whoever comes in front of him, Kane breaks their face with a single punch. He even shoots several of them dead. After a long and violent fight, Kane kills all of Lincoln's men. Then he calmly stands in front of Lincoln and starts drinking a beer. At this point, Lincoln finally reveals the real truth. He says that when Kane won the fight against Lincoln's wishes, Lincoln's men stopped respecting him. Because of Kane's victory, their gang had suffered a huge financial loss. That was why Lincoln first sent Kane to prison, and his real plan was to have him killed inside the jail to take revenge for the humiliation. Now Lincoln picks up a shotgun and tries to shoot Kane, but it turns out there are no bullets inside. Realizing this, Lincoln grabs a knife and attacks Kane instead and manages to injure him, but in the end, Kane kills Lincoln as well. After that, Kane walks outside and sits beside a wall. Then the story goes back to the past, to the day Kane escaped from the hospital. Before escaping, Kane himself was admitted to that hospital. There, Sam comes to visit him and tells him the truth that Lincoln is actually the one trying to have him killed. At that moment, Kane finally decides that he will tell Sam everything about Lincoln. And since his mother was already close to death, he no longer had to worry about protecting her. Now, he could finally take revenge on Lincoln without hesitation. Now, the question remains, do you think Kane should have forgiven Lincoln for what he did? Or do you think Kane was right to take revenge? Let us know your opinion in the comment section. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate you spending time here. If you found this helpful, please like the video and subscribe for more every week. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload.